Welcome. Today I would like to do a continuation of a screencast I did earlier about reducers. And so in this one, I would really like to talk about how you can add multiple reducers. And so let's get started. Basically, I have an event that is hooked up to the counter, and we would like to increment it and also kind of add an extra event which says who this event came from. So let's take a quick look at the changes you would need to make for accomplishing that. So basically, a few things that you need to change in this app.js, where we have a counter and where we have an increment. We want to add a few more things. So let me just kind of walk through the steps and we'll see where it goes. Basically, we need to import bind action creators from Redux, and we need to get our pure functions from actions.js. And I have two functions, increment counter and username. So let's just import this first, and I'll show you the actions in a second. So if you want to look at the actions, it's pretty straightforward. We can go to it. Increment counter basically returns an object which has add count and a payload of 1. And username takes in whatever the input name is coming in and sends it back as a type last user, and payload is name. So that's what we are. So the two reducers we have will be handling these events. And if you want to take a look at the reducers, basically we have a reducer counter, which is the same one which I had covered earlier. Basically, it's incrementing the counter, and this is the username where the payload is being sent, action.payload to be that. So the way to do the combined reducers, multiple reducers, what you do is you add all of the reducers in an object basically. So here we are using combined reducers, and you can import combined reducers from Redux. And one thing to note is that each of these methods are handling part of the state. So this is handling the counter part of the state. This is handling the username part of the state. And here is the translation for the object. Basically, this is going to show up as a property of CNT on the state. And the method it is connected to is reduce count. And the user is connected to username. So that's how you do the multiple reducers. And you can add as many as you like. So let's go back to our app.js. So we got our events and connections, and now we need to go to the next step. So the next step basically is I have prepared the function for the HTML, and I'll just show you what it is doing. And we'll just add it after this here. And let me just format the document so it looks nicer. So we have the counter which is incrementing, and the button on click counter. So we don't really need to do those things again. So I'm going to delete that. That's kind of a duplication. Okay. So basically we have a select statement, and on change, I'm saying we want to bind to a change event. And inside this, all of the options are essentially statically created from get list of users. So let me just show you first the on change event. Basically, whatever the event is coming in, we will take the target value, which is the selection value, and we'll call this uh, property username method on the property, and that's all it is doing. And the user list is essentially right now static 3 values, and it's mapping it and it's creating an option. And here the value is going to be whatever the element comes in. So it will cycle through Yogi, Gaur, and so on. And that's all it is doing. And we are firing this event, and that should go into this property, and we'll call our username event, and we want to be able to dispatch it. So the last step is to figure out how to dispatch this. So to dispatch, what you want to do is, let me just replace these methods uh, that I have for dispatching this properly, and I'll walk you through this. So we initially had just these mapping state to properties, and we were connecting map state to properties. but now we want to be able to dispatch method. So what we are doing is map state to properties. We are matching username to the state.user. The user state is coming in is mapped as username. The next thing we want to do is bind action creators such as encounter and username and to these properties. So it will show up as properties increment and username, and it's going to dispatch that event. And dispatch will essentially send this event to the store, and the store will update state and so on. In the connect, what we do is we always had map state to properties. Now we need to just add this other method, match dispatch to properties. So let's see if this works and does what I was desiring. So let's take a quick look. First of all, we can clear this so we can see the events. So what I'm saying is increment. So you can say it send the action add count and payload 1. So the new state is 16 and count becomes 16. So that is working. So if I change here, this should be changing the username. So you can see it send the last user payload was Gore, and it changed count remains to be the same and the user became Gore. If I change it to Yogi, for example, the user should be changed to Yogi. So it is working correctly. Let me review this again as a diff so it will be easy for you to see as to what the changes are. Basically, the changes are we changed the connect. We added these functions, bind action creators from Redux, and we imported our pure functions, the actions, increment counter and username. Div style, you don't really need to worry about. That was not really a whole lot thing. Here we just added a select statement and we bind to this, and get list of users is just returning a static list of users. And when we get a change, we will fire this event on the property, the username, event.target.value. Here, instead of just having the state count, we're adding state.user, and then we added this method called match dispatch to properties, and it's basically going to cause an dispatch to be sent essentially, and not having to do it manually here or in some other place. So that's actually a pretty clean way of handling events and dispatching them to the store. So hopefully this was useful to you, and thank you for listening to this short screencast, and you have a great day.